Welcome to the Stressless Eating Podcast, where we help diet-obsessed and food-crazed women break themselves out of the food and body prison, end the dieting madness, and take control of their health for good. I'm your host, Leanne Ellington, and this podcast is about answering one question. How can you heal your relationship with food and your body and take a practical approach to this whole self-love journey, but without all that restriction, obsession, and shame, and without needing years of therapy to do so? If you want to know the answer, you're in the right place. All this information is 100% free, so please subscribe to and review our podcast. Well, hello, ladies, and welcome to today's video. I'm here with the lovely Lisa, and she is a friend and a client, and she is going to share her truths with you. And as you can see, the title of this, what I called it is, age is just a number, because we're going to talk about how it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are not too far gone, too lost to transform your life. And so really, we're going to talk about how, Lisa really just found her way again after losing her husband. She ditched the diet mentality and she really just got her life back. She really just got her groove back. So first of all, say hello, Lisa.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Great
We're so
to see
excited.
you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your truths.
Sure.
Well, first of all, I'd love to just kind of have you give everyone a little bit of background information. Like, where were you before we met? Like, what was life like? What was your relationship with food like? What was your relationship with yourself like? Give us a little picture of what was like before we met.
Things were not too great. I actually, the food was only one aspect of what was not great in my life at that point. Leanne didn't mention my age, but I'm 62, and my husband died almost 5 years ago of a terrible illness. And so that's not usually it's not young, but it's not like we expected anything like that to happen in our late 50s. Anyway, I became a caregiver, and I kind of was so focused on him that I sort of wasn't caring about how I took my care of myself that much. And I'm not a person who always had problems with my weight, only at certain times in my life. Normally, my normal self is actually kind of slim. I was a skinny child, and only at certain points in my life did I have issues with food, overeating, and one time it was because of medication I took. But this has really been my problem since my husband died or even was sick. And I think what happened was I just got in this mode. Well, first of all, grief can do all kinds of things to your head.
Absolutely.
A lot of stress. And I was almost in shock for quite a while. It took about a year. And even though now it's been almost 5 years, I still don't seem to have gotten myself back together. Or I didn't right before I met you in a lot of ways. I had let myself go because it was sort of like, look how old I am. Nobody's going to care what I look like anyway. What do I care? I wear all these sweatpants every day. I'm never going to meet another guy anyway because I'm too old. And I got myself into a depression, which was interesting because once I met you, we kind of redefined depression into powerlessness. And it was a real paradigm shift for me.
Yeah. You had just practiced it. Yeah.
Exactly.
And the result was depression. Yeah.
Yes. It was depression. It was, and I isolated myself terribly, which is another reason I didn't care what I looked like, because I wasn't going out much. I felt like one of those old lady living with cats, like a cat lady. Yeah. And I felt invisible. So even if I would go to family gathering, I'd be like in the corner, nobody really paying attention to me because the children running around and all that. I kind of felt invisible, like the old ant in the corner kind of thing. So I didn't have a self-worth or a good body image or any of that stuff. Yeah.
And what had you tried before this? Like, I know you'd done, like, obviously you just said it wasn't just a food thing. So, but what had you tried for the food and the weight loss and all that? And what did you try to address the depression and the self-worth and the way you were feeling emotionally before we met?
Well, I think what had happened was because I was still in a state of grief. And believe me, that's, I feel like I'm going to move forward in my life. I already do, but I don't necessarily move on. It's always with me, and it always will be.
Never ends. Yeah.
Even if I do meet somebody new, my husband sort of will always be there, and the new person would have to understand that.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
And that happens.
Yeah. And we've talked about this, like grief, it comes in waves. Like you think you're done and you're not done. Like now it's just a matter of like, how do I handle this so it doesn't take me so off kilter and down that dark rabbit hole like it was for you. So
So I sort of got to the point where I thought, you know what? I should kind of try to do something about this because I do want to move forward. So I tried certain things, Weight Watchers, of course. I had done Weight Watchers before, earlier in my life, maybe 20 years earlier when I was having that other issue. And like you say, sometimes it worked till it didn't work. And, I lost weight on Weight Watchers, but then it was too annoying having to count points all the time. I'm sure a lot of women are used to that.
Yeah.
And feeling so guilty if I went off one day, oh, you're bad, you didn't stick to it. And every time they make you weigh yourself. And I don't know.
You're literally watching your weight is what Weight Watchers is. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like that's how you're measuring your success, by points, by tracking, by weighing, by measuring. And there's a lot of like positive elements of Weight Watchers. This is not about knocking Weight Watchers, but like you said, it's not a lifelong solution.
And it's not really geared toward anything but food and weight loss. And, I find that I remember a lot of the stuff even now, but that's okay as long as I don't use it against myself.
Right.
So if I get on as a weapon, like, oh, this time you didn't eat right, you probably gained a pound yesterday. I don't start feeling angry at myself because I figure, so what? I know what to do, and it's not a big deal. I don't get angry.
That's you talking now.
Yes.
Yeah, which is so cool because what would former versions of yourself have said to yourself if you gained a pound on the scale at Weight Watchers?
That's really bad. You're not doing it right. If I have to go on the scale at tomorrow's meeting, oh my God, I better really not eat much today to make up for that.
Totally.
That was it. It was like a making up for something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Something bad.
For sure. Yeah. So you've done a lot of the diets, especially Weight Watchers. I think Weight Watchers is one of those ones that a lot of us have been like, oh, I was on Weight Watchers like 12 times.
Yeah.
I know I was.
I mean, there were little gimmick things too. Like I remember one where kitchen is closed at 7 p.m., that type of thing. So I'm supposed to pretend I'm locked out of the kitchen.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
There's another one where if you're good, you put a marble in a vase and you see the marbles come out. It just, those kinds of things don't really. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And what had you done to try to address the emotional stuff that you were dealing with as well?
Oh, well, a lot of it, I saw a therapist and I am still seeing her. Yeah. And she is excellent in all other areas. In fact, she's the type of therapist, we don't dwell a lot on the past. She certainly knows a lot about my past and how I've gotten where I am and the events. And she helped me enormously with the grief. She helped me enormously in the past when I was having some other issues. Yeah. But we really didn't focus on my weight because it wasn't much of an issue, as I say, for most of my life, it wasn't much of an issue. Right. And when we did talk about it, it was so brief, and I would try for a few days, and it just didn't. I don't think she was a specialist. Like I know there are some people who are food specialists, food therapists, you said, and that might help some people. I don't know if it would have helped me. I don't know, but finding your program definitely has been a game changer for me. Definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the biggest shift for you as a result of the program? Like, what have you noticed? What's different about you? Like, what's changed as a result of going through this process together?
I think that a lot of it has to do with a paradigm shift we talk about, where I'm looking at things in a different way. A lot of it does have to do with the words you use when you talk to yourself, and certainly with food. That has been obviously successful. I told Leanne that I lost 20 pounds since I started her program. And, I didn't even I never felt like I was denying myself anything. No. but it's more of you're thinking more before you do.
Absolutely. So and I just want to interject something real quickly, because ladies that are watching this, for the record, like, and Lisa will attest to this, like, I am adamant about the fact that, like, this is not a weight loss program, but you're probably going to lose weight as a result. But like, and you know this, you hear it on the calls, like women come to me like, you know, part of it is like, we have to shift the weight loss mentality. When we go in mind with like weight loss in mind, we end up with that diet mentality, and it's a perpetual cycle that we never get off. Right. And so part of it is like, we have to table the weight loss mentality, find the freedom, find the peace of mind, get your power back from the food and from all the power in your head. Right. And then when you do that, the effect is usually weight loss, because it's not the weight, it's the weight of the weight, as I talk about it. And so would you mind speaking to that? Like, obviously, like, I didn't put you on a diet. I was like, very like, hey, this is not about weight loss. And you even said, like, is it cool that I mentioned that I lost weight? Because you know how much this is not a weight loss program. But I'm like, of course. And like, I also want you all to lose weight if it'll make you better, stronger, happier versions of yourself. Right. It's just that oftentimes the way we were doing it and who we had to be to do it was awful. So would you speak, like, I mean, what was your experience like while losing 20 pounds in 12 weeks?
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? So what was your experience like? Now you know what I mean by saying accidentally losing weight.
I know, it's true. It's so funny, because I think a lot of it has to do with, well, in the beginning, we don't even do weight loss that much. We do things like, how would you describe yourself? What are your different roles in life? And, you know, it's a lot about how we talk to ourselves. And I picked 3 words for myself. One was the first one, powerful, which was really, so I have a sense of, I'm in control. The food is not in control of me. Yeah. And that goes with other areas of life too.
Right.
I'm in control of these papers that have piled up on my desk and that are making me stressed. The papers are not in charge of, you know, it just goes with so many things.
So,
and another thing was enough was one of my words. And because I tend to, well, I'm a perfectionist. A lot of us are, I think, perfectionists. And I would always feel my work, no matter what work I was doing, I was a change career person in the middle of my 40s. And then, you know, I had been in communications, then I became a teacher. Now I'm in politics. And whatever I'm doing is, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. And I learned that perfect is the enemy of the good, in a sense. So I took a lot of that weight off of my off my shoulders. Totally. And also, you helped me with that, because when I talked about it, it's almost a guilt. Like at the end of the day, and always in whatever career I was in, and as a mother raising my child this way too, I had to be the perfect mother. So it's sort of like, maybe instead of feeling guilty at the end of the day, I didn't do everything I was supposed to do. It became more, and you helped me with this, I did what I could do. I did I did what I could do, and it's enough. Instead of, you didn't do enough. You didn't do everything. I did enough. I did what I could do. So enough was a very good thing. And also mindful, being aware of what was going on. What is my need right now? Is it really to go get a bag of cookies and sit there and just snack, even though, you know, even if I didn't like the cookies?
For sure. Yeah.
You know,
absolutely. So, and it's about having those tools, because I know there's so many different things out there that tell you, like, be mindful and, you know, just think before you act. And it's like, well, wait a minute. How do I do that if I've been reacting and I've been being a perfectionist my whole life? So these things that we talk about in theory, it's actually like, how do we get down to it and create this and not just do it, but become the version of yourself that just shows up that way? Like, this is just who you are now. Like, you just get to show up as Lisa.
Right. And you know, this I've been meditating for quite a while. So this was sort of a natural, meditating the way Leanne does it at the beginning of the sessions is really, really helpful. And it becomes a way of kind of helping you. I mean, once you get into it, it's a practice. Yeah. Once you get into it, it's a way of sort of focusing and centering yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I find mindfulness is part of that. And if I'm sitting being a couch potato, watching something on TV other than the news because I don't want to be stressed, so I'll put on some old, rerun of Seinfeld or something. And I could become a couch potato very easily. Yeah. And I still do that at times. But if I, in the past, would, like I said, go grab some cookies or chips or whatever. Now I stop and I say to myself, this is the mindfulness. I say to myself, you know what? Am I hungry? Am I hungry? I ask myself. And usually the answer is no. I'm not kidding, because I have a certain, as I say, I don't even want to eat when I'm not hungry. It's sort of like being mindful of the fact that I'm listening to my body.
Yeah.
And so I say, I'm not hungry. Why am I going to eat?
Right.
So then I wait, and I don't wait. I'll do something else. And lo and behold, an hour or two later, I am hungry.
Yeah.
So at that
You're
point,
listening to your body now. You're not just listening to your emotions. You're not just, that's amazing. Yeah. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So why do you think that, first of all, why was this different than anything you've ever done? And why do you think this was more successful? I mean, you've done all the diets, you've been in therapy for years. Why was this different? Why was this so successful for you?
Well, for one thing, you did an amazing job designing this program. I don't know how you did it. As I said the other day, oh my gosh, she must be so smart. She figured all this out.
Lots of failures and lots of suffering is what created this program.
It's amazing. I think that what's different, and I mentioned this to you, I think the other day, what's different is that even if I, quote, fall off the wagon a little bit, which happens to everyone, we talk about that. Things happen in life. We may feel terrible. We may grab a little more that day because we're just like, who cares? Yeah. And then, but I feel like I have the tools because of your program to have the confidence and have the trust in myself. It's really a matter of having trust and more self-confidence that we develop through the program. To know that this will continue. This is a lifelong thing now that I'm doing it. It's not like, in Weight Watchers, they have a thing, or at least they used to, where you get to be in the program free if you don't gain more than 2 pounds or something like that. So it was always sort of a punish thing. And in this way, it's like, wait a minute. I know how to do this again. I can do this. I did it now. I can do it again. And it's not going to take me years to get back to it. I can go back to it anytime I want to.
And you have your breadcrumbs. You have your recipe. Yes, and it's the Lisa recipe. Everyone's recipe is different. It's not my recipe. Like, you cultivated it. We crafted it throughout the program, and that's the thing. There's no wagon anymore is really what it is. There's not a wagon because there's no extremism. There's no in, out, on, off. It just is life. And then if you have more cookies than you wanted to, it was either intentional or it's not this shaming, blaming, and it's not really happening that much, but every once in a while it does, because it does happens to me too, because we're human and cookies are delicious. And I have to tell you, living in that world where you don't eat cookies.
This is hilarious. This is hilarious. Last night, I don't know, it was late. I had already had dinner, but somehow when I went to bed, I thought, I would really like something sweet right now.
Yeah.
And in the past, I was like, and I'd start, going at it. And then I would never feel well at night. I was like, oh no, I need some Alka-Seltzer in order to sleep. It's sort of like when you say, how do you want to feel? I want to feel like I can go to sleep, like I don't have a stomach ache. Okay, how am I going to accomplish that? Well, by not eating a lot close to bedtime. But I really felt like something sweet. So Girl Scout cookies have been around lately, and how can you say no to a Girl Scout? So of course, Thin Mints are wonderful. So I took a Thin Mint. I took one Thin Mint, and I ate I thought, well, I'll have one. And if I want another one or another two, that's fine. They're these little cookies. Yeah. So I ate one, and I said to myself, do I need another? No, that sort of satisfied that need for a little sweet flavor.
Yes.
I stopped at one, but not because I felt I had to. It was because the mindfulness, the mindful. Am I in need of another cookie? No.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Yeah. Because first of all, notice, ladies, never do I say don't have Thin Mints. Like, it's just like, yeah, food is food. And I remember when this first started happening to me, I was like, wait a minute, I just had 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, or I just had a scoop of ice cream, or I didn't finish my plate, like the Clean Plate Club. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I remember being shocked, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. That's never happened, And that's what it is. So it's not like, because here's the thing, like we said, there's no wagon to get on or off of. Yeah. Also, you're always allowed to have cookies by when you choose to, not because you're so, your inner food police gets so tired that your inner rebel says, oh my God, and I have to have all the cookies, right? It's a choice, and you get to choose. And now you're so tuned into your body, and you're so committed to your forever self that you're not putting yourself through that, but also you're not feeding your emotions with sugar anymore. So there's so many different things going on. Like, I know you're sharing the end result, but there's so many things that we did to kind of reverse engineer that process. And now you just get to have, because here's the thing, ladies, your relationship with food is 3-dimensional. It's not just emotional. It's neurological. Like, there's fired and wired patterns that have been going on for decades for most of you, right? There's also a physiological response, right? And then there's obviously the mental side of it, like the thinking part, and then the emotional part of it, like your social brain, the emotions that come alongside it. It's multidimensional. And that's why you have to address all of them, but in a way of freedom. Yes, structure, your brain's going to want structure, but structure is not control. Control is the opposite of freedom. And so I want you ladies to hear how she's just like, yeah, this is just what I do now. It's just, this is how I make decisions. But she had to change her thinking around food. It didn't come from another more of the same, which is can't have this, can't have that, good, bad, right, wrong, should, shouldn't. And it doesn't come from restriction, deprivation, punishment, persuasion, and control. It came from shifting her thinking. But before we even did that, the part that you guys didn't see, obviously, or still haven't seen, is that for the first 3 weeks, we just did all self-image, all about earning back her own trust, weighing and measuring herself based on a currency of her own choosing that did not have anything to do with the scale or how much she got done that day, right? Self-endorsement rather than needing it from everyone else. Self-care, and that's a physical, a mental, a social, emotional, and a spiritual conversation, because most people are just making it physical, and it's just not a food or fitness thing, right? And then the self-esteem is the know, like, trust factor, getting your trust back. And here's the thing, most women, they are walking around, they love themselves, but they don't like themselves very much. And so you can earn that like and that trust back and that respect back, and it all adds up, but you can't. Absolutely. And oftentimes, when we do get into the food stuff, once we've done all that stuff, a lot of the food stuff just disappears because it's not a food problem.
Well, I'm not obsessing like I did. That's the thing. People obsess when they're on these diets. Yeah. And it's like all they're thinking about is food. What should I eat for this? What should I plan ahead for this? And I don't obsess about food. When I'm hungry, I eat whatever I think is good. I try to be nutritious about it because, everybody does. Certainly you want to be healthy. And I do listen to, I don't want my cholesterol to go high, or I don't want to get diabetes. Although, in fact, that was part of my big motivation for getting into this program. It was also being healthy and fit. And it was also, I want to fit my clothes now too, not just sweatpants. Yeah. So now I can wear a lot of the things that I couldn't before. Amazing. And that makes me feel like I want to be seen. I want to go out and be attractive, as attractive as you can be at my age. Anyway,
oh my gosh.
I work so with modest. What I have.
We'll work on that. No, just kidding.
No, as I was going to say, some of these things, what they do is they transfer over to other parts of your life, so that you learn these things about food, but then you can say, oh, now I'm going to try to use the same types of tools. Leanne knows I have this thing with going to bed at a decent hour because I don't have to get up early for work anymore because I'm retired, basically. Yeah. It's like, oh, I could stay up till 3:30 in the morning. Who cares? I could sleep till noon. I could be like a teenager again. Yeah. And, that's a very bad habit that I want to get out of. So I'm kind of working on that the way I worked on the food problem. Yes. But what I find, and I like this about the program too. First of all, you never kind of scold us if something goes wrong. You encourage us. You even say things like, I'm glad that happened because it was an opportunity to learn something. And that's so different from other diets or other exercise programs or that say, you didn't do your 10 push-ups today or whatever it is. But the thing about going to bed, the other thing is taking baby steps, not expecting everything to change at once. So if I'm used to going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is ridiculous, I'll bring it down to, okay, I'll try 2:30 instead of 3. And that might not sound early to anybody, but to me it is because I was doing 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, wow, I could do 2:30, and I do that for a while. Yeah. And then at some point, maybe I can do 2. Right. But it's really in baby steps. Absolutely. And I'm still on that journey. But
of course, it's a lifelong journey. Yeah. Yeah. And just to stack on something that you said, like first is like the tools that we teach, yes, they work beautifully for food, as you're an example of. But they are tools that you can use in every area of your life, right? Because it's 3-dimensional, right? But also what you're sharing is like one of the things that we do in week 1, as you know, is like we eliminate that 0 to 60 extremist mentality.
Right.
Because that's the problem, that extremism, that radical, like I'm going to go from sitting on a couch to running a 5K on Friday, or, or like I'm going to totally give up all cheeseburgers and only eat rhubarb and kale. It doesn't work, So part of it, what we do is we make sure that we work with your brain, because if your neurological system is stressed, it is not going to do it very long, and it's never going to become who you are. That's why diets, they work for a little while, but then they get harder the more you practice them, and we get worse at them the more we practice them, versus the modalities and tools that I'm teaching you ladies, like they get easier the more you practice them, and they become you. Like you have to think about it less and less because it becomes
absolutely. That's what I meant about not obsessing and just sort of asking myself, there's something interesting. Yeah. Because I was thinking about being a couch potato, and instead of snacking, I kind of realized, again, it was like a revelation and epiphany. You know what? I just want to be doing something with my hands.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who makes those adult coloring books. Yeah. They're called mandalas, and I got some of those, and I got some markers. And lo and behold, I could be a couch potato, but I'm so into coloring that it really it's so nice. It's like a form of meditation because it relaxes me, and I'm not stuffing my face with food. Right. Some people like to knit. Yeah. There are all kinds of things. When you ask yourself, what do I really need now? Do I need food or snacks? Or do I just need to do something else? Maybe even take a walk or whatever. So it's again, I feel a paradigm shift of sort of checking in with myself before. And
that's how you take your power back. You have your power back now.
Yes. Well, yeah, I do. And it's a good feeling to know that I'm not being punished. I'm learning lessons along the way. This is a lifelong thing. To be overwhelmed, like you said, in some of these fast 0 to 60, it's so overwhelming. Absolutely. And then when you don't do it, when you don't accomplish it, you just feel guilty again. And then it's a vicious circle because, oh no, I'm horrible. I better try something. And it's just, I think it's horrible. A lot of women live that way for so many years, and it's just, I can't imagine how that must feel. It's just awful.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And on that note, I'm curious to know, like, what would you say to any woman who's sitting on the fence right now? Like, because we know that the diet mentality is very seductive. It's so easy to want to be like, hey, let me just go on a diet, lose a bunch of weight really quickly, and then all of this stuff will come back around full circle. So what would you say to any woman that's sitting on the fence about taking a leap, about, transforming from the inside out and really healing her relationship with food, healing her relationship with self, healing her relationship with her body? And instead of paying all of that short-term cost, like actually investing in her future, what would you say to anybody that's sitting on the fence and is tempted to go back into that seductive world of just like losing weight really quickly?
Yeah, there are a few things. The diets that you see out there do not address the whole you. As you said, the mental, the physical, the emotional, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And this program does in a very systematic, structured way, in a way that's easy, actually, because Leanne builds up, from this to that to the other. It's not like, do this and then go back to that. But we can. We always know the breadcrumbs that we can go back to when we need them, which is great. Another thing is, I was skeptical at first. You see all these. Oh my God! You see all these things on the internet. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I tend to be the type of person who you could put on my forehead, gullible. I have been that way my entire life. So one thing I was working on was trying not to be gullible. Yeah. At the time that I first met you, Leanne, and I realized that I see these things on the internet. I see ads. I see this so much about dieting, and is this another scam? They're just trying to, take your money, but not really help you. And yeah. But after talking to Leanne the first time we spoke, I even expressed that to her. And but after talking about it, I kind of realized, and I thought about it a lot afterwards before we had another call. And I thought, this sounds different. This sounds more holistic. It's really a program where you are addressing the rest of your life too. Mm-hmm. And I thought, again, for the first time, I sort of felt, I'm not worthless. I'm not so guilty. I'm always like, what could I have done differently that would have helped my husband? But if I think about it, nothing. There was nothing I could do. He had a terminal illness. I did as well as I could in terms of supportive and anything he needed in a physical sense. If he needed food and couldn't get up to get it, I did everything I could have for him. So, but you still have this guilt, and it's like I'm sure people feel this guilt all the time, especially women who are struggling with anything, including food. And I feel like I said, why not invest in myself for a change? I'm always doing things for other people. A lot of women are in that. I was doing things for my son all the time, doing things now for my elderly parents. I'm not begrudging any of that. I think it's great. Yeah. Doing things for my sick cat, doing things. And all my friends often would come to me to vent what their problems were. And because I guess I'm a good listener, and they felt that. And so I thought, well, what am I doing for me? It's time to do something for me also. And I think I thought of that, and I said, I need to make an investment in myself. I need to give a gift to myself. Yeah. And I decided this would be a gift I'd give myself. And I would say to women out there who are considering joining the program, I don't know, Leanne, what your experience has been, but since I've been in it, I hear a lot of positive feedback. I love those group calls, by the way, that we do once a week, because we all hear each other's experiences. And I've heard such positive things from a lot of women who are in this program, where whatever our circumstances are, and they're all different, we are somehow moving forward, as I said. I haven't heard too many people say, I haven't heard anyone say, forget this, it's not helping. Now, I don't know, maybe you have had people like that in your program, but I have a feeling that anyone who's on the fence out there should at least realize that many women benefit from this. And maybe they're one of the people who would benefit, and that you're such a caring person that as a client, I feel cared for. I feel like you really care. Like you're not just doing this as your business, but you really, it is your business, but you really care about the people you're working with.
Thank you.
And that helps a lot. You're not just going to some place where they don't even know your name, much less what anything is in your life. Yeah. So that makes a big difference. And the help desk makes a big difference when you're stuck about anything during the week, anytime. Leanne is very responsive. If you go there and say, I'm having a little issue with that, this or that, and it doesn't even have to be a big thing. And there she is, getting back to you and helping. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad that you had those experiences. And I mean, it's just a testament to how you showed up in the program and how you just took back your power. And I was just your guide. You were you did it, so what, and, before we sign off, is there anything else that you want to just share? Any words of wisdom or insight that you think that other women might need to hear?
Well, I think in terms of the sort of calming yourself down in your life, because a lot of the women in our group are very, racing around in their life.
We're very like a success group.
Yes.
A lot of high achievers.
Type A personality. Sure. And I think that's very stressful in many ways.
Yeah.
And I think being in this program, some of the things we learn is a lot of times we stress out so much, and that leads to the food and the snacking. I learned a way of calming myself down. Mm-hmm. I was always a very triggered person.
Yeah.
If somebody said something that I didn't like, even if it wasn't toward me personally, I would get so upset and triggered that it could ruin the rest of my day because I was obsessing about that. You see,
I remember.
Obsessed about whether it's food, whether it's somebody said something, whatever. And now I find that I can sort of recognize when that's coming. Oh, you're going to get triggered again? Bye-bye. This is ridiculous. I can talk my way through it. I didn't even know who that person is. I don't even know what he said that had anything to do with me. And again, powerful. Am I going to let this control my day and the rest of my day, and it's going to be ruined? And I thought, no. And it's just, again, noticing things about what you're doing to make yourself more stressed than you would have been. And so I have found that it has really calmed me down in a lot of ways. And I think that has helped with not grabbing a lot of food. And as you say, kind of losing weight, because it's just like going along with everything else I'm learning.
It's an offshoot, Because, again, you didn't have a food problem. It was all the other stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's also important for people to remember that this has to do with not just food, but your relationship with food. And I think there's a big difference.
Oh, it's everything. It's everything.
Yeah, and I think that that's another thing I would add, that Leanne really helps us understand that it's not the food, it's how we relate to the food and everything else in our lives. So I would add that.
Oh, amazing. Well, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited that you got to go home to yourself and that you get to have this next chapter of your life and be all of who you are, and you're not hiding and you're not sunken into old habits, and you just get to go show up in the world and be your beautiful self. So,
well, it's sort of like when I met my husband, and I actually met him like 10 years ago, which is unbelievable, but it was second marriage. Anyway, we were later in life, second marriage for both of us. And at that point, I was my attractive, regular self, or I wouldn't have been showing up with those vibes. And but it's really the vibes you send out.
Absolutely.
And so at that point, when I met him, I was good. Yeah. And then when he got sick, that's when everything started to go downhill for me as well. So I think it's within the past decade that I've really experienced this problem more. I feel like, okay, it's the end of the decade. I can start fresh.
Right.
And so that's a good
thing. Well, now you have it. Well, happy 2020. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing your truths with us, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you so
excited
much
for you. So proud of you. And it's just the beginning.
Can't thank you enough. And good to know. The other thing people should know is that there are options to reconnect with Leanne if you need to. And also you have the materials at your disposal forever. The videos, the worksheets, whatever you need is there for you. Even if you don't reconnect with Leanne directly, it's always there for you to go back and remind yourself of what you want to do.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your truth with us. You're amazing. I love you so much.
And, you too. You're amazing. I can't believe it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ladies. It's been a great interview. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you really soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you heard and you're interested in breaking out of your own food, body, and diet prison, here's what I want you to do next. Head on over to stresslesseating.com. That's stresslesseating.com and sign up to watch the Stressless Eating webinar, where I'll walk you through the exact 5-step game plan my female clients use to conquer emotional eating, self-sabotage, and finally heal themselves from the restrictive all-or-nothing diet mentality for good, but without obsessing or spending years in therapy to address it. I've laid it all out for you there in 5 easy steps. Remember, healing your relationship with food and your body does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen, and we've helped clients all over the world take back their power from the food and find true and lasting freedom while enjoying life and warm chocolate chip cookies along the way. To see if we can help you do the same, head on over to stresslesseating.com. I'm Leanne Ellington, and I'll see you next time.